Hi, I'm Miss Haley with the Huntsville-Madison County Public Library, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a felt flower headband. This craft is suitable for tweens and teens. It's also suitable for older elementary age children. If you'd want to give it a shot, you might need a little bit of help. So what we're making today is a headband. It's one of these, a stretchy headband, not a hard one. And we're making a couple different flowers. We're going to make 3 different types. We're going to make this fluffy little flower here. We are going to make a flower similar to this. I made a big one so you guys could see it here. And it's not quite finished. We'll have something in the middle, but I wanted to give you some options on that. And we will be making a rosette. The rosette can look like this, or it can look like that. It just depends on the way you roll it. And I'll come back to that when we get to that flower, but I'll be making this type of rosette today, but I will also tell you how to make this kind if you prefer a flatter rosette. And our sizes are going to be a little different. Those are just some samples I had, so our sizes aren't going to match that exactly, but we'll play with it today. So what you'll need for this craft is a pin, some scrap cardstock. This is just, I think, an old index card, and this is going to be for our leaf template later on, because we also want some leaves. You need a pair of fabric scissors, some sharp scissors that can cut fabric really easily. You might also want a pair of paper scissors if you keep different types. When we cut the template out, you wouldn't want to use fabric scissors for that. You need a stretchy headband. This is a Scrunchy brand headband, I think. Goodies also makes them. This one's a thick headband. It's about 1/2 inch thick, I'd say. The Goodies ones are usually a little smaller. I kind of prefer those, but this is what I have, so this is what we're going to try today. Maybe I'll like it better. I don't know. I've never tried this kind. But any kind of stretchy headband that's not overly thick would work. You could probably do it with the really thick one too. You're just gluing the flowers onto it, so that's pretty straightforward. You're also going to need a hot glue gun. This is a low temperature hot glue gun. I really don't see any need for a high temp glue gun for this sort of craft, especially this one, since you're touching it with your fingers a lot and you're really likely to get some hot glue on you with this craft. So go low temp. You'll need a couple glue sticks and some pearls or pearl beads, or maybe buttons, something to embellish the center of our flowers. That's going to be for this flower. It's going to have a little like pearl or 2 in the center. And you can use a lot of different things for that. So you could even use like a gemstone or whatever you really want for that. And then you're going to need some felt. So felt can be bought at craft stores. It can be bought online. You can get it at Walmart. They have a craft section, and I know you can get that through grocery store pickup if you need to do that. So you need felt in 4 different colors. You need a green to be your leaf color, and then you need 3 flower colors. And today I'm going to be using, I'm not sure if you can tell on the camera here, this is some scrap felt I had left over. It's not actually white. It may look white on the camera, I'm not sure, but it's this really, really soft blush pink that I thought was really pretty. So we'll be using that. That one might be a different color. I'm going to set that aside. I think that one might actually be white. So like I said, a very soft pink. I'm going to use this very bright pink, super neon. And I'm going to use this sort of minty aqua color that'll be for our fluffy flower. So that one will actually match the flower that I have. So to start out, you may also want a ruler for this. You don't have to have a ruler. I'm just going to be eyeballing my cuts today because you really don't have to be super specific, but if you want one, you can do that. So you need about 3 inches of fabric from the end. So from the shorter end, we're going to make ours a little smaller. I made this one a while ago, and I think it's a little bit big to go on a headband. I think that'd be a little heavy. But if you want a big one like this, all you have to do is cut along the long side instead of the short side. But we're going to cut on our short side today. And you need it to be about 3 inches. So, 1, 2, 3, right about here. Now, I have been crafting a long time, so I'm pretty good at eyeballing these sorts of things. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, that is fine. You don't have to do that. So, what you're going to do, once you have your 3-inch piece of fabric here, it's 3 inches this way, it's long this way. You're going to put a strip of glue right along this edge. So right along here. And this glue gun is not a lefty. So we're going to put some glue. I'm going to get as close to the edge as I can. And you'll see why once we start shaping our flower. And I use plenty of glue. I do not skimp on glue. We don't want this to come apart. Then you're going to fold over this end and press it down onto the glue. So like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you get it way off, you can probably move it before it dries. Just do it really quick. So we have basically a tube of fabric now. And if you guys can see, it's glued down on this edge, and I'm just pressing it together, making sure it's nice and firmly together. You don't want that to come apart. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut along the folded edge. So that is this edge here, not this edge here. So not the part where your two edges meet, but the part where they're folded. So right here. We're going to be cutting along this, basically making a fringe. So I'm going to get right up close to the camera. And you're going to cut, and you don't want to cut all the way down. You want like this tab down here at the bottom, but you're going to cut pretty decently far, about like that. And you're going to just repeat that. You try to keep them the same size and all the way down. If you're having trouble, I like to cut in the crook of my scissors. You just have to be very careful if you cut that way that you don't accidentally go too far. But we're going to cut a fringe, a looped fringe, because we're keeping them loops. So if you can see, they're still looped. You don't want to cut those. We're going to do that until, don't cut yourself like I just about did on camera. Wow. We're going to do that until we get to the very end. And this is going to be our floofy flower that I showed you first. It's kind of like a chrysanthemum. Not really if you looked up close to a chrysanthemum. I'm sure if you looked up close to any flower, these wouldn't really look very real, but they're pretty. And that's what we're going for. So all the way to the end, cutting your fringe so that you have this long fringed strip. So what we're going to do now is we are going to start rolling it. So we're going to start rolling it this way, and you want a really tight roll. And every now and again, you're going to stop and put a little bit of, I need to add a glue stick there. Let me start that again. So you're going to roll your flower in a tight roll. You really do want it quite tight. And then once you've gone a little ways, you're going to add a little bit of glue. My glue stick is not cooperating with me. A little glue right there. And then you're going to roll. And again, you guys can see it's a really tight spiral. But you're going to keep doing that. So you roll a little bit. You don't have to do glue the entire time, but just every now and again, after you've rolled it once or twice, add a little bit of glue. Because we don't want them to come apart. We don't want to unroll our flower. So keep rolling. And then at the very end, you're going to put glue all the way to the end. Like that. And We are very busy at the library today, you guys. I don't know if you can hear the phone ringing in the background there. But we're going to glue him down. And now we're going to hold that. Hopefully you're not getting glue on you. We're going to hold that until it dries because we don't want it to spring apart. And this will want to, it will want to unroll. So you're going to want to make sure it's not going to do that. So I'm going to press on that a little bit. I am an impatient person. I'm very impatient, you guys. So there we have a cute little fluffy flower, and you can fluff it out a little bit. And this one is smaller, so that's the difference there. They're almost about the same. This one just has a few fluffs. So that is the short end. If you cut along the short end. If you cut, I don't have a full piece anywhere, but if you had cut along the long end, you would have gotten a floofier flower. So we want our base to have a really good base that's going to be able to glue down to our headband. We don't necessarily want to glue down directly to that. It'll also help reinforce the roll a little bit. So you're going to set it down on here. I'm going to just eyeball it. I'm going to cut out a small square, and then I'm going to cut out a circle out of this square. And you can always trim off any excess. This is going to be our base. That could be a slightly smaller circle, I suppose. The base of our flower here. So take your flower and put plenty of glue down on it. And go ahead and press that flower base onto it. And I've got glue on me. So like that. And that is flower number 1. Good job, y'all. So that is a super easy flower. You could make lots of these. Again, just use the longer side. This was using the short side of the felt in a strip. This is using the long side of the felt in a strip. And they're very, very similar. This one's just a little fluffier. So that is up to you guys how you want to do that. Now, we're going to show you guys how to do a rosette. So we're going to use my pink felt for this one, I think. And for the rosette, you need to cut a circle. And you want a pretty big circle if you want a big rosette. This was a maybe 2-inch circle, maybe a little bit more. But so that's a pretty small one. That's about a 2-inch circle. The bigger your circle, the bigger your rosette is going to be. I am going to be using something to trace a circle today. And I'm using this huge paint container and my pen. I'm going to get it in the corner so I'm not wasting a bunch of felt. I'm going to very lightly trace around that. So I have a very light circle traced. When I cut this out, I'm going to make sure to cut off all of the pin marks. I don't want my pin marks showing because that will definitely show on the edge of your flower. Because this one, that is the outer edge of your flower, is the outer edge of your circle. So you don't want that showing up. So cut your circle out. Once you are done cutting your circle out, go ahead and just get rid of your scraps for a minute. You're going to cut a spiral. So you'll start here and you'll cut inwards in a spiral. If you want this one, you can just cut a normal spiral. You don't have to worry about it being different sizes as you cut. If you want this one so that the outer edges are a little bit bigger, then you want to start small here, and then as you come in, let your spiral get a little bit bigger. So that's the one I'm doing today. And I'm just going to start cutting in a spiral. Again, you don't want to cut anything off. You're not cutting through at any point. This is just one continuous cut of fabric that spirals in and gets maybe a little bit bigger towards the center. But it's okay if you're off. It's fine. It'll be a tapered sort of look. And what you're going to want to do, if you want this rosette, you're going to start from the center piece. So if you wanted this flatter rosette, you'd start from the center, you'd wrap that around, and you just go around and around and around and around until you got to here. And you'd glue a little bit as you go. But we're doing this one today, and so for that one, we're not starting from the center of it. We're actually going to start from the outside of our spiral. So if you guys can see if I can put it back together there. There's our cut spiral, and we're going to start from this outer tip. So we're just going to start rolling it up, and you're just like the other one, you're going to use some glue as you go. Not yet though, because you will 100% burn your fingers if you do it now. So you're just rolling it up. You want to keep it fairly tight, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and add a tiny smidge of glue right there. Just a little baby dot. It's a baby dot of glue. You don't need a ton for the inner parts of this spiral. And I'm just going to keep wrapping it around. And add little dots of glue as I go. I'm adding those dots towards the bottom of the flower. This is going to be the top, so that it's a little smaller and it's not going to show at any point. So once you get it bigger, you might want to start wrapping more loosely so that the petals of your rosette have a little bit more air between them. And you're just going to keep going until you get towards the end. Once you're at the end, you're going to add some glue, a little bit more there. And you're going to glue that down. And you'll know you're at the end because you'll stop being able to go around, and it'll start wanting to go back down as you get to the little center area. And so we are going to glue that guy down right there, and we're going to trim off this excess of the petal. So to glue that down, we're going to put a lot of glue on our spiral, and we're just going to lay that flat on there like that, and then we'll trim off all this excess. Now if you wanted to, you could keep adding petals, so that could be the first of the petals that you added. You would just cut out these little rounded shapes and start adding them around the outside to make a bigger rose. But if you're going to stop with a rosette, you're going to trim this off. So we're going to just trim around the base there like that. Just make sure that's glued down really good. If there's still parts sticking up, you might want to add, like right there, just a little squirt of glue in there. And you have a very pretty rosette. So we're going to set this aside as well. So I'll set them up here where we can see my progress. Here's flower number 1, flower number 2, and we're going to do flower number 3. So for flower number 3, you need at least 5 circles. You can use more. It just depends. I'm doing a very loose flower. It doesn't have a lot of petals, but you can just keep adding petals to this one. So you could really do as many as you want and build it up. But I'm only doing 5. So I'm going to be using this cap. I'm not sure what it came from. I found it. And it's exactly 1.5 inches, which is why I'm using it. I want 1.5 inch circles. So I'm going to trace this onto my scrap felt exactly 5 times, however many I can fit on here. I think I can fit 4 on one piece of scrap felt. That's pretty good. So this will be the flower that we're embellishing in the center with a pearl. There's 4, and then I'll do one more right here. You guys can see I'm just tracing this 1.5 inch cap. You could use a bottle cap. A bottle cap's about 1 inch if it's like a soda cap, but like a Gatorade top or it's like Snapple tops, those wider tops on bottles tend to be about 1.5 inches. I think this came off of a pill bottle. I am not sure where this came from. So I have 5 circles that I've traced onto this blush white fabric. I'm going to cut them out. You could also, if you wanted to save some time cutting, you could trace it on one part and fold your felt over and cut it that way. I like to do it this way. It depends on how you want to do it. Definitely on this one, make sure you cut off all of your tracing. You could freehand these circles too. You don't have to use a template. If you're pretty good at cutting out circles or vaguely circle shapes, you can do that too. And then you don't have to worry about cutting off the pin marks. But you definitely need to get the pin marks off because on this flower especially, they will be super duper visible. And because this is sort of a 3D, you're going to see it from multiple angles. You might see the back side of the flower on your headband. You don't want it on the back side either. Normally I'd say just turn it over and use that as the bottom, but you can't really do that for this craft. So just make sure you're cutting off your pin marks as you're cutting out your little circles of felt. So that's 2. And remember, I'm using 5. You could do 4 for this one. You could do 3, and that might look okay. But 5 is a good number. You can definitely do more. But anything less, and it's kind of a different sort of look for a flower. But there are 3-petaled flowers out there that would look similar to what we're making today. And I'm sorry my sample flower for this one was not as good. I didn't have a really good sample for this one. So I'm cutting out my last circle of felt. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a line right here. I'm not going to cut all the way through. We don't want to cut this in half. I'm going to cut a line to almost in the center. I don't want it all the way in the center, just like almost. It's a little bit short of the center. I'm going to do that to all of my petals. Just a small line cut right there. I'm going to get that one close. I might have been off camera the whole time I did that. Oops, you guys. So like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this one over that one so it overlaps a little bit. And you don't want a ton, because if you do a ton, you're going to get this really cone-shaped thing. And then you'll have, like this one turned out to be really deep. And I want it a little flatter. I want it kind of more like that. So you're just going to put a tiny little dot of glue or a line of glue along the line there, along one edge, and then you're just going to overlap it and push it down ever so slightly. So you've got sort of like a little hat shape to your flower petal. It just gives it a little bit of dimension. It's not just a flat flower. And you're going to do this for each flower. So just a little stripe of glue right there, and just lightly fold it over just a little bit. And keep doing that until you have all 5 of your petals done. And remember, the amount that you overlap is going to determine how deep your flower is, whether it's flatter or whether it's super duper deep like this one. And this would be a good, almost like a windflower from Animal Crossing if y'all play that. This would be a good base for that. You'd need to add some stuff to the center, but that would be a really good base for that. I'm going for a slightly different look. I think a windflower is really called an anemone in real life. So last one, tiny strip of glue along that edge, fold over, very small, and press. If you've got any like glue streamers, just pick them off. Once it's dry, you can just pull those away. So now I have 5 petals, and I'm going to start gluing them together with the folded over part in the center. That's our center of our food. You don't want that on the outside. So you want the smooth edge on the outside and the cut edge on the inside. And we're going to start stacking them like that. So we're going to glue a little here and we'll glue that down. And then we'll add the next one. And then the next one. And then we'll add our last one. So we're going to put just a little dot of glue right there. And you're not putting them perpendicular. So perpendicular would mean that those two, the two lines would form a X when we had 4, but you want it slightly less than that. So more like the lines are forming a V shape rather than a plus. Let's put that together. So put another dot of glue right there. And again, glue down your petal. So you can see these two petals are not right across from each other. If you've got them right across from each other, you've made it a little too wide and you don't want to do that. So these two should not, when you get to this stage with your third petal, they shouldn't be directly across from each other. It should be a little bit off. So another dot of glue. And we're going to glue this guy down like that. And then for our last one, we're going to glue it to 2 places. So we're going to put a dot of here and we're going to glue it here, but we don't want to just glue it on top because then it won't follow that overlapping pattern. So we're going to glue it on top of this one, but we're going to glue this one so it's over it. So put a dot of glue right here, glue that one side down like that, and then go ahead and this petal here, the first petal that you did, go ahead and pull that so it's up like that. And you're going to put a dot of glue on top of the petal that you just glued down. So right there. And you're going to glue it down. And that way they all overlap with each other. And you have this very pretty little cup flower. So we really want, if you guys can see, there's the gap there where they all come together in the center, and we really want to cover that up. So I'm going to use a couple pearls. I'm not sure how many I'm going to use. I could use 1. I use 1, and if I can get it into position, it'll look like, it keeps rolling. I can't hold it up when it's not glued down, you guys. Oh goodness. Okay, so I could use 1. Or I could do 2, looks a little weird, but maybe 3. I think I want 3. So I'm going to put them, I'm going to glue them slightly off of the center mark. Just going to put a little dot right next to that center mark. If you want to just do 1, you can put that dot of glue right in the center. And I'm using 3. So I'm going to, so I glued my first one down slightly off center. And put a dot of glue, again slightly off center next to that. And glue down another pearl. And then I'm going to do that one more time, again slightly off center next to those. And glue down my last pearl. I'm going to press it so that it's really stuck in there. I'm going to peel that glue streamer off. Ick. And there we go. A very pretty pale sort of blush white with some pearls in the center. And that is my third flower. So it looks like that. So when you are ready to attach them to your headband, and you could put a little circle here. In fact, I think I will. I'm just going to take a scrap of fabric just to give it a better base to glue down. And I'm going to cut out a very small circle, because I don't need a big one for this guy. I'm going to cut out, ooh, got hot glue all over my hands, y'all. So I'm just cutting out a very small circle, and I'm going to put some glue on the back of it, and I'm going to glue it down to the back side of my flower like that. And that gives you a sort of circular base that you can use to glue it down to things. It does not have to be a headband. You can decorate all sorts of things with this. You could decorate a board. If you have like a bulletin board or something in your room, you could use that. There's just all sorts of things you could do this. Backpacks, anything. But I'm doing a headband. So when it's time to glue it onto your headband, I'm going to definitely cover up that symbol. I don't want that on there. So that's probably going to be where I put mine. If you are using one that doesn't have a symbol on that, sometimes I cover up this part, but you don't have to because that can just go on the back of your head. That's up to you really how you want to do that. But I am probably going to do it there so that it will be covered. So play with your flowers a little bit. Decide what pattern you like. You are kind of working in a straight line because you will have a band that you're working on that you're going to be gluing down to. So you can't do like off center on this. If you were doing something else, you could. So I think I'm going to go by size and do it like that, maybe. Or I could do it this way and just play with it. However you want to do it, you're going to glue it down, but you'll just add a little glue here and you'll glue it right down. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to put big old dot of glue there, and I'm going to glue him right on down. Ow, 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 hot glue on my finger. Maybe hold it to the side like that so you don't get hot glue on your finger. If you do, it's low temp. It's not going to like really burn you seriously. You do get it off pretty quick though. Don't leave it on there. I have learned that lesson the hard way before. So you have a headband. You could stop with one flower if you wanted. You could do just one. That is up to you. I might, with this guy, even add a little bit more so he's on a tilt and add another little dot of glue right here and glue down one of his petals. But I'm going to play with that. I'm going to see what it looks like once I put him on. And then I'm going to do this one. Oh, that's the wrong flower. This one. Just a little bit. I don't need so much that it's off. So I'm going to put him right here. Maybe a little bit more to the side. Like that. And again, press it down. Try not to get glue on yourself. I have gotten glue all over myself. And I might even, I think I'm going to glue those two petals down to that just so it's going to sit right. Because I don't like how that's sitting and pulling. So you don't want to add so many flowers. You can't do it all the way around this band because it'll lose its stretchy. So just a couple flowers towards the top will do the trick on this. If you wanted like a really full flower headband, I would go with a hard headband. So I'd get one of those. I'd probably get a thick, like 1 inch thick headband that's hard, and that way you don't have to worry about ruining the stretchiness of your headband, because as it stretches you could easily just pop a flower off from when the glue gives up as it stretches. So you could easily just pull it off, and I mean you can glue it back on if that happens, but we want our headbands to be durable. So just be aware of that as you're putting it together. Then I'm going to put my very, very last flower right here, like that, and I will have a completed headband. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you guys make some really pretty flowers and play with it. There's a lot of fun felt flowers that you can make. If you really like this video, drop it in the comments. I know how to make a lot of different felt flowers. I can make some more cool 3D ones. I can make anemones. I can make sunflowers. I can make lavender. The lavender is really cool. It just takes longer. So just drop it in the comments if you'd like to know how to do more. Thank you. Just kidding. I am back. And we are going to do a leaf really quick. I almost forgot to do a leaf. So that's where we were with the headband. And if you want to add some leaves to it, you don't have to, you can leave it how it is, but if you want to add some leaves, what you're going to do is trace or draw a sort of teardrop shape. Like that. You want it to have a pretty fat bottom. So like that. And you are going to cut that out. If you feel confident in making this shape, you can 100% just cut it out of the felt or draw it on the felt. But that just depends on you. So once you've done that, you can trace it onto your felt. Again, I'm going to do it down in the corner so that I'm not wasting any felt. I use a lot of felt. So once you have it traced, you'll just cut that out. I'm going to go ahead and cut that piece off so it'll be easier. Again, just like the flowers, you want to make sure that you are cutting out your lines. You want to cut those off completely. And voila. You can also do a football shaped leaf if you wanted, so it would be pointing on both ends. I like this because this is the end that is going to be hidden. It's going to be glued down so nobody can see it. It gives you a little bit of a wider base. So you can glue it like this and just add it where you want, like that. Or if you want it to have a little bit more dimension, you can slice here in the center and glue it together like we did the petals. So you could slice it right here, just a smidge, and glue those so that they overlap, and that way you get a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to do that really quick. And just a smidge. And you can glue it down that way, and you can kind of pull it that and curve it up, or you can glue it that way. It's however you want it, however you decide your leaf looks best, you can add that. So I'm going to add my leaf down here because I want to cover up this. I didn't quite make it to the seam there, and I want to cover that. If I'd been thinking, I would have glued it under, but I kind of forgot about the leaf, to be honest, you guys. So I'm going to glue it right there, and it will cover the headband a little bit. And that is how you make a leaf and a flower headband. Thank you, you guys.